Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder. Today we are going to dive deep into the financial report of a company that is involved in everything from crypto to ESG. It sounds like a mess, but let's see if the numbers agree. Before we start, if you appreciate getting straight insights from corporate documents, make sure you're subscribed. We also have a Discord community linked in the description below where you can join the conversation. Today we are looking at Schwab Strategic Trust's latest filing. Specifically, we're focusing on two of their exchange-traded funds or ETFs, the Schwab Aerial ESG ETF and the Schwab Crypto Thematic ETF. One focuses on socially responsible investing, the other on crypto. How are they doing? This isn't your typical quarterly report or annual filing. This is an N-CSR form, basically a certified shareholder report for registered investment companies, which includes some financial statements. It gives investors a peek under the hood to see how the funds are performing and what's going on behind the scenes. The report covers the period ending in March of 2025. Let's start with the Schwab Aerial ESG ETF. This fund focuses on companies that meet certain environmental, social, and governance standards, what we call ESG. It aims for long-term capital growth by picking stocks of usually small and medium-sized companies. First, let's talk about costs. For every $10,000 invested, the fund costs $59. This translates to an expense ratio, which is like an annual fee of 0.59%. So less than 1% of your investment is going towards running the fund. Now, how did the fund actually perform? The fund's MF, or net asset value, return was 0.19%. The report mentions two benchmarks to give us some context. The S&P 500, which is a broad measure of the market, returned 8.25%. A second index, the Russell 2500, which is more representative of the fund's typical investments, actually lost 3.11%. The ESG fund wasn't great, but not quite as bad as the small cap market in general. Looking at average annual returns, the fund delivered 0.19% for the year. Since its start back in 2021, it's down about 0.11% per year. In comparison, the S&P 500 returned 8.45% over the year and 7.1% since 2021. In the Russell 2500 returned 5.1% since 2021. In short, the fund is failing to beat the indexes. Let's take a look at some key stats. The fund's net assets are about $23.6 million. It holds 59 different investments and its portfolio turnover rate is 15%. This means the fund isn't trading its holdings too actively. Where is this fund investing? A lot of the fund is in the consumer services sector, 15%, the financial services sector, 14%, the financial services sector, 14.6%, Pedgeston, and the capital goods sector, 13.1%. Okay, let's switch gears to the other ETF in the report, the Schwab Crypto Thematic ETF. This fund doesn't directly invest in cryptocurrencies, but instead invest in companies that could benefit from crypto and blockchain technology. What does it cost to invest? For every $10,000, the fund costs $27. This is an expense ratio of just 0.30%, much lower than the ESG fund we just looked at. How did the crypto ETF perform? The EV return was 17.81% for the year. The MSCI Atway Index, which is a broad global market index, returned 7.15%. A third index, the Schwab Crypto Thematic Index, which the fund generally tracks, was down 17.90% for 17.90%. The fund returned 17.81% over the year, but since its inception in 2022, it's up 11.51% per year. The MSCI CIVRI Index returned 7.15% over the year and 11.49% since 2022. The Schwab Crypto Thematic Index returned 17.22 total. And let's take a look at the key numbers. The fund has about $84.9 million in net assets. It holds 36 different investments and has a portfolio turnover rate of 60%. This fund is actively trading its holdings. Where's the fund focused? A whopping 55.3% is in software companies, with a further 26.6% in capital markets and 5.8% in financial services. Now, let's dive into the financial statements that are listed for both funds. This is where we get the real nitty-gritty details. The report shows the assets, liabilities, income, and expenses of each fund. You'll find the portfolio holdings, which lists all the stocks and other investments that the funds hold. Also included are statements of operations, which detail how the fund performed financially over the past year, showing investment income and realized and unrealized gains and losses. Finally, there's a report from Deloitte & Touche, the independent accounting firm. They state their opinion that the financial statements are presented fairly and in line with accounting standards. It's like a stamp of approval on the numbers. The filing also has items regarding the code of ethics that applies to the people in charge, and there were no changes made to them. Also of note is that Registrant's Board of Trustees has determined that Kimberly S. Patmore, Michael J. Beer, and J. Derek Penn are each an Audit Committee financial expert. Now my take on these two Schwab ETFs. The Ariel ESG fund seems to be struggling to find its footing. Its performance is not looking great. The crypto thematic ETF, on the other hand, is pretty dependent on crypto. For the fund to do better, crypto needs to recover. Both funds are heavily dependent on the direction of the market for the fund performance. So alright, that's our breakdown of these filings. What's your take on these numbers and what they signal for the company's future? Drop your thoughts in the comments if this analysis was valuable. Hitting that like button really helps, and subscribe for more deep dives. Don't forget to check out the Discord in the description. Thanks for watching. See you next time.